Hey, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the tornado is going to go.
And Psychic Tom Paget with a fresh deck of tarot cards. Ready to go.
I need them this week. I spent quite a bit of money today filing my big case against my sisters, so I need to win some big UFC money this week.
Actually, I saw that post.
Oh,
Man. You killed a lot of trees.
oh man. So I already knew I needed at least 6 copies of everything because that's what the lady on the phone told me. And the lady on the phone is usually in like some telemarketer's office, I think, and not really actually in the clerk's office. But she's supposed to know everything, to tell people instructions. So, she told me 2 copies for every defendant. So I had 3 defendants, I got 6 copies. And I had to file it a day late anyway because the copy shop was already booked up. This is a big month for them. And so they were like, oh, we can't get it done today, we'll have to do it tomorrow. So I pick up the 6 copies and the guy's like, we're still busy, crazy busy. And I get to the court and they have a new lady working the front and she just stamps everything, not understanding what's going on. Received. And then the big lady comes out and she's like, wait a second, no, we have to do this, that, and the other thing, and you need 3 more copies. So I'm like, oh, hell, this guy at the fucking place already kind of pulled a fast one for me to get this stuff done. I don't even know if he's going to be able to finish it today. So I went over to him, and we had such a good rapport, and we had such a good conversation going that he was just like, all right, I'll get it done. I'll make it happen. Right? And 2 hours later, I get it all down there, and finally they take it in and they file it. And it's just very cool to have people in the court system that are more relaxed. Because I've been in courts in Massachusetts where they see a person representing themselves and they hide under their desks. They try to give you as little help as possible because they're afraid of those people. But up here it's just so much more laid back. They help everybody. I saw a lady, they always say that, no, we're not allowed to give you legal advice. I saw a guy came in on a guardianship today to the clerk's office and the person he was guardian for died. So she literally helped him write a motion right there on the spot. It's like a motion form, and she just helped him go through it and get it filed. So I was just like, wow, that's probably against the rules, but that is a cool thing that they did to help him out. Obviously, that's what he needs to do. So you shouldn't have to get a lawyer for that. But in a lot of other situations, the courts are not so friendly. Maybe it's also just because it's a probate thing, and probate's a lot different than other civil courts. It's got a lot of different rules. But anyway, yeah, it's just been kind of crazy. And now, boom, I got 4 counts filed against them. They're going to serve it all themselves through the courts, which is another nice thing about the probate system. You don't have to go serving stuff on your own or hiring a process server. They actually will bill you from the courthouse for serving the lawsuit on the defendants, which I thought was awesome. Because that's one of the biggest pains in the asses is when you have to hire a process of service company and chase the person down and then sue them. They can avoid process, as they call it, by sneaking around. So hopefully that's going to be a big break in the case for me, and I could sit on it for a little while, wait for them to respond, see if they're going to respond, or maybe they'll actually be inspired to come to the table, and we'll see what happens. But I've asked for $50,000 and a quiet title, they call it, to the house. So big stuff. We'll see if it pays off. I don't see how it can't. I just really believe the courts are on my side up here. It's my home state. I've adopted it. Massachusetts is no longer my home state. I'm still welcome in Massachusetts, but yeah, it's not as close to my heart now as New Hampshire is. Definitely not the traffic. Do without that. But anyway, back to the sports. We have lots of combat sports to talk about. Not so much MMA from last week, but big boxing match. We had Tank giving the spank to Romero. This was kind of an odd situation happening, where a lot of people said that Romero was beating the pants off Davis, and he got lucky, and he just caught him with a good shot walking in, and I don't know. this is 6 rounds, so there's a lot of fight left to go, even if he didn't get counted out. And I can't call it an early stoppage either because he was stumbling. But I mean, he walked into a really hard punch. And so...
How did you guys have that scored?
I didn't
How did you both have it scored? 'Cause I had Romero. Oh, you Tony, where's your priorities at, bud? Jeez.
Oh, if I ordered every pay-per-view they did, I was like, you know, I would be like taking out like mortgages. No,
Yeah,
like I wasn't like. I mean, like I like Tank Davis, and I enjoy watching him fight. I just didn't feel that was worth the $75 charge.
Yeah. Well, what kind of what hooked me? Romero's trash talk was all he liked. I mean, it was. I was speechless. Like, jeez, first round, and I kind of had a feeling he would make it a fight, and I had him up. What do you think, Rich? Did you see it live?
I did not see it live. I just saw the knockout footage that was going around Facebook. And, I saw that there was a big mark on,
he had
Davis's head, so he obviously took a hard punch there.
Yeah, he had Tank backing up a bit and had him hurt a few times, and he seemed like he was, I had him ahead, but what power Tank must have. My God, one mistake and good night.
Yeah.
But amazingly, at the post-fight press conference, Romero said, well, I won all 6 rounds, and we wanted to rematch.
Yeah, you got laughed at.
Yeah.
He's still getting laughed at. Tom's laughing at him. No, I understand, the frustration. I mean, if it was MMA, I'd probably have a better case for it. If you're winning all 5 rounds, you get knocked out in the 5th. But, this is boxing. And if a guy has your number like that in the very first fight, it's very tough to sell a rematch. Even if you win every minute of the fight, except for that exchange. If a guy viciously knocks you out where, it's not like 3 knockdowns in a round or even 2. It's 1 straight knockdown, boom, you're out. Referee counts you out, standing up. It's probably not a good look for a rematch. You might want to win a couple fights after that first. Then ask for a rematch.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You want to go do it the old school way. You just come back, put a winning streak together, earn another fight.
Yeah.
How do you earn it after you just get knocked out?
Yeah. He's young. I mean, he's got less fights than Davis, obviously. Got a lot of room to grow. So keep at it, Romero, and keep your hands up at all times. Oh, protect yourself at all times. That's what it is. Sorry. Because sometimes you can put your elbows up and protect yourself too. Anyway, we also had Arslan de Lara beating the brakes off of Gary Sullivan in the undercard. And our Jesus fight of the week, I believe, was Jesus Alejandro Ramos versus Luke Santamaria. And Jesus won this week. Not a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. You talk about trash talk. We've got one this week with a lot of trash talk involved. It's actually on Sunday. George Kambosos Jr. and Devin Haney, both undefeated, so somebody's always got to go fight for boxing this week. And it's not Sunday because it's down under. This is big set of brass ones on Devin Haney. We're taking his undefeated record down under against Kambosos Jr., who is, basically, it's his home country. I believe he's Filipino. He could be. He could be. I think he might be actually Australian or New Zealand, something like that. Anyway, Devin Haney is obviously American. So it's going to be slightly friendly, but not as friendly as it could be if he was an American soil in Vegas. It could be probably definitely a different time zone, so it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period for him. And this guy is no joke, this George Kambosos Jr. 20-0. Haney has a little bit more experience. He's also promoted himself, so he's kind of picked his own way to the top here. But he does have 3 titles: the WBA Super World Lightweight title, the IBF World Lightweight title, and the WBO World Lightweight title. Or maybe Kambosos Jr. has one or the other. I don't know. That's what's on the line, I should say. I can tell you who has what sometimes in that lineup. Co-main event is a bantamweight fight between Jason Nobaloni Maloney. No, I don't know if that's his nickname. But, he's 23-2. Fighting Aston Palikte, who is 28-4-1. That one's for the WBC Silver Bantamweight title and the vacant WBO International Bantamweight title. And a heavyweight title on the line, the WBA Oceania heavyweight title between Junior Fa, F.A., that's not my Boston accent, taking it. He is 19-1, fighting Lucas Brown, who is 30-3. That's like the most obscure title with the best records people fighting for I've ever seen. That's pretty good. Another Maloney on the undercard at Super Flyweight. These guys must be brothers because they have the exact same record of 23-2. Fighting Alexander Espinoza, who is 21-3-2. That's Super Flyweight. Imagine being a fighter like that, a boxer, who's always fighting on the same card as your brother, and you have the exact same record. Same time.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, talk about sibling rivalry. They're keeping it even anyway. Keeping it even. Alright, so obviously there's not a lot going on Sunday. But that's the big one. It's a very big card for New Zealand, for Australia. And I'm going to say Devin Haney wins that one. Talk about the bad blood. There was a little bit of trash talk in an interview I saw posted earlier today where I don't know what the beef was for Kambosos, but he said something about him betraying a countryman, one of his fellow boxers or whatever, that he sparred against somebody and then told the other guy about, the experience where, supposedly these sparring sessions, like, it's almost like you got to sign a confidentiality agreement. Sometimes you actually do. So, I think there was a big issue with the Conor McGregor and Pauline Malignaggi situation where you're supposed to have no leaked footage or anything like that. He's that concerned about people figuring out his style. But anyway, yeah, so apparently Kambosos got into it with Haney about him betraying a friend or betraying a countryman with, leaking knowledge of sparring sessions, and then Haney accused Kambosos right back of doing the same with Jeffrey Horn. I guess he had leaked some information about sparring Jeffrey Horn to Manny Pacquiao. Or vice versa. I don't know what the story was. I just caught a little bit of it and I was like, oh boy, these guys are really... They're very confident individuals too. I mean, that comes with the undefeated record and the dominance in their division so far, but man, this is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be like, big test for Haney. And coming into another guy's area like that and taking the fight in the main event, that's going to be a big statement win for him if he can do it. Kambosos Jr. is obviously going to be hoping for that hometown glory. If it goes to decision, it might be a better chance for him. But Haney is obviously going to have that Dana White quote in his mind, don't leave it to the judges. So we'll see. Nonito Donaire is obviously also fighting, I should say, on Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Naya anyway. 7th. Anyway. I think that's a rematch, right? Anyway. Saturday we've got the two big fights they're showing on BoxRec's front page here are Stephen Fulton versus Daniel Roman and Kenichi Ogawa versus Joe Cordina.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to the Stephen Fulton fight.
Yeah, that's about him. Heard the name, but I don't remember any big fights I've seen myself personally.
He's a Philly kid, you know. I've seen him fight. And I fight, you know, in person when he was really breaking, starting to make a name for himself.
Right. Alright, what else we got going on?
And he's undefeated for a reason, you know.
Yeah, there's not much supporting action going on this week as far as big fights. Boy, here's one man that is kind of big. Okay, so down in Sonora, Mexico, the main event, welterweights, Luis Castillo Leon, 22-8. Fighting Jorge Pimentel, who is 30-27. Slightly above 500. There's also a guy in this card who is, there's a guy in this card who's 12-35. Fighting a guy who's 17-28. It's called the begging for a win fight. 17-28 with 4 draws. Felipe Rivas at super bantamweight fighting Reyes Lopez Escalante.
Was in there.
12-35. That's a loser leaves time. Loser leaves Mexico. Plenty of this guys. 5-0 versus 5-11. Tanzania. That's one over there. Got the UK. Ali, the anti-Muhammad Ali over here. We got 2-0 Brad Ingram at welterweight fighting Naeem Ali, who is 2-88-1. Not the worst record on the card. We also have our Fonz fight of the week. Fonz Alexander, 127-1. Great record.
Wow.
Looking for win number 8, or possibly loss number 128. Louis Van Poach on the card. He's got 10 wins to go with 146 losses and 3 fine draws. And then Jamie Not So Mighty Quinn, 9 wins, 130 losses, and 2 draws. They're all fighting undefeated.
2 draws.
1-0 is one of the guys. That's 4-0. Quinn and Poach fighting 4-0 fighters. So the big one is in the United Kingdom. Kenichi Ogawa on DAZN, 26-1-1, fighting Joe Cordina, who's 14-0 for the IBF World Super Featherweight title. And we got Farouk Korbanov, 19-3, fighting Zelfa Barrett, 17-1 for the European Super Featherweight title. Dalton Smith at super lightweight fighting Moro Parweni, who is 14-5-1. That's for WBC International Silver Super Lightweight title, I should say. Super Silver Lightweight title is probably something else. That's Sunday. Isn't it interesting? Not really far to fight this weekend. TBA in the main event. 7-0 Yankee Urita.
Yeah.
On Saturdays, fighting TBA. And then we got the co-main event, light flyweight. Here's our definite mismatch of the week. Byron Rojas, 27-4 with 3 draws, fighting Armando Torres, who is 26-20, no draws. He has won 4 of his last 6, though, so there is hope. And then, not the Jesus fight of the week yet, but our Angel fight of the week. We have a De Jesus making his debut on the undercard, first fight of the night. But we got Angel Gonzalez in a bantamweight fight, 9-0, fighting Lucy Johnson, who's 3-21-1. And we got another big-time opponent, Raymond Chacon, 8-50 with 1 draw. 8-50. Get the big 50 loss out of the way. 50th loss is out of the way, gone. So no big milestone now left in the loss column except 100. Fighting Daryl Rivera, who's 9-0-1. Another candidate for this match. Whoops. Fights in South Carolina. This match here. Alberto Delgado, 1-19-4, fighting Austin Deanda, who's 7-0. Super welterweight. What is this? Oh, yes. I thought this was like a USA Network fight night. For some reason. USA Fight. It says USA FITE. So that's the Fight Network. Different thing. That's it, really. That's all there is. Boy, I'm definitely not going to go through this card in Uzbekistan. Oh, it's a lot of Mavs and Aliyevs and Edanovs. Oh man, I'd be here all night. No, there's not even anywhere names on there as far as reference. That is what it is there. And we got a couple events this weekend. Get back to UFC action, and it's going to be not many breaks from here on out. I believe we have at least 4 straight weeks of UFC cards. We'll get to that. What big news we were talking about, sort of hinting at before we got on the broadcast, as I'm waiting for a couple things to load up here. Butterbean calling out Jake Paul now. We knew he was working with a former guest on the weight thing and something else, reality show. But our former guest, Diamond Dallas Page, with the DDP yoga and all that, has been really pushing Butterbean. And Butterbean had been kind of doing everything but boxing before all that. Not really talking about fighting that much. He was selling actually some pens and stuff like that he was decorating himself. And then next thing you know, I see this video, him talking about being on this reality show that Diamond Dallas Page is putting together about people taking their lives back and, you know, getting them back in shape and all that. And obviously probably inspired by the whole DDP yoga thing where he did that viral video with the one guy with the crutches who ended up throwing the crutches away by the end of his DDP yoga situation. But more power to Butterbean. We had reached out to him years ago through Facebook to get some passes and set up to go to the event in Worcester where I actually met a lady who just retired. She actually got knocked out there, but the Happy Warrior there. What's her name? I can't think of her name. I'll think of that. But anyway, yeah. So I met a lot of big time names there. But Boss Rutan, I got the selfie with. Probably one of the best pictures I've ever taken. And I was kind of not even going to take it. And my buddy was like, "Why don't you ask him for a picture?" The guy I let be my photographer there, and so sure enough, you know, it was not only a good picture, but I'm apparently with the WWE now. thanks to
Nice.
thanks to hooking up with Butterbean the first time and getting involved in this promotion, because it was his promotion. It's called Mushin MMA, and Butterbean was there and everything. I met him, shook his hand and all that after we interviewed him. And I had done an interview with him on another website too years ago that was pretty popular. So I don't think it's around anymore. It was like FightHype.com or something like that. Pretty decent sized article about his career and how he's pissed off still to this day that he's more recognized for the Jackass movies than anything else. So anyway, long story short, Jake Paul is in the news. Supposedly he's going to fight Mike Tyson. I don't know if it's really going to come to fruition, but if that doesn't, or even if it does, next in the waiting will be Butterbean. Apparently he wants to make a comeback now. He is, putting out a lot more video clips and promoting some things and getting involved with fighting a little bit more. And it's good to watch. It's good to watch. And great to see his passion light up again for the fight sports, because he did both, and he's one of the very few who was pretty decent at both. Granted, a lot of his success came in specialized 4 rounds fights, where he was, just became an expert. But people forget he fought, what was it, Larry Holmes? Larry Holmes.
Yeah,
right?
and that was a quick 10-round fight.
Yeah. So, pretty good boxing career, pretty good MMA career, and he did a lot of the freak show work fights too over in Japan. Yeah. Interesting character, and I'd love to get a second bite of the apple with him, but we'll keep working on it. Another guy I thought of today was Patrick McGilligan, the old friend of Reuben Hurricane Carter, and boxing aficionado. You see him a lot on Facebook, and he's got one of his nephews, I think, involved in boxing now, so it'll be interesting to catch up with him about all that. Anyway, Nonito Donaire, we forgot to mention him. He's fighting on Tuesday. He is 42-6. He's on an amazing comeback here. This is a rematch. He lost to Nia Inoue back in 2019 in November, and then he didn't come back for a couple of years. That's how bad the loss was, I guess. But this comeback has been crazy. He has been just beating one undefeated guy after another. He has 2 in a row. So this hoping is going to be his 3rd one, and he's going to avenge a loss. He's looking so sharp. I don't know. I mean, Nia Inoue is not really taking much of a break, but he's still undefeated, 22-0. And this one's going to be a good test for how strong this comeback is. But Nonito Donaire is just so sharp, so powerful. He's only been knocked out the one time. That was a unanimous decision win by Inoue the last time. So I'm going to say he wins this one. He avenges the loss. He is the hot hand. Last time I saw him, he was out in Vegas. Saw him in person. The only time I ever saw him in person, I should say. He was the guest photographer at the event that I met Teddy Atlas at. I got the interview with him. That was funny though. He was serious about it too. He was right up in there taking the pictures. All right, so we gotta go to MMA here. Sure, no. Got nothing we really talked about last week. We got some heavyweights in UFC Fight Night 207 on Saturday. And it's just like experience galore versus unpredictable toughness in Rosenstruck. He's 12-3. He's had some weird fights. He's been knocked out at the very last second. And he's just had some really disappointing performances. At the same time, he's also had some crazy knockouts. So you just never know which one is going to show up. That's why I say unpredictable. Volkov, he's a tough guy, but he could be a one-trick pony. He could be very open to knockout because he has more of a karate style. He does a lot of kicks. He doesn't Doesn't pay attention to the hands-up style defense all the time. Tries to use his length, but is not always successful. A guy like Rosenstruck could get in there and negate that reach factor and just stay on the inside if he's going to strike with him. If he's going to wrestle with him or grapple with him, you just keep him up against the cage and he won't be able to use his reach. So I don't know. This is very, very interesting one. I don't think it's going to be like a good fight. I think either one guy, either Volkov is going to start early and get some kind of quick, crazy first round knee or kick to the head and knock him out, or it's just going to be an ugly 5-round fight. I think. Rosenstruck too has the knockout power, but
I would agree.
He's just more in tune lately to go the distance. I think. I haven't really crunched my numbers and done my brackets like I usually do. Now this is not one of those ones where it's a guaranteed knockout, even though it's a 5-round fight. Both guys have the capability to go the distance and could go the distance. I like Volkov because of the experience, but Rosenstruck it's unpredictable. You can't really. This is one of those ones where I'm gonna have to put cards together where both of them are leading the card. Depending on one guy to maybe get the knockout, but sometimes those 5-round fights make all the difference because even if they don't get the knockout, you could have a tremendous fight. And Rosenstruck's had some fights, though, unfortunately, where he has gone the whole distance and he hasn't really done much. So I don't know about the scoring there, but hopefully he has learned from that, if that's going to be one of those cases. But anyway, I'm going to go with Volkov just on experience and luck. You might catch him with a lucky kick in round 1. Get the knockout. I don't like Rosenstruck. I really don't. I just don't like his style. He's almost got like Czech Congo vibes for me. But he's not that. He doesn't have that cut physique like Czech Congo. He's a little chubby.
Yeah, good point.
Then we got Dan Ige in the co-main event against Movsar Evloev. And I love both these guys in this fight. They're both great fighters. Evloev won me some money the last time I backed him. He was undefeated then, and he's still undefeated, so I'm going to go with Evloev in that one. He's got not so much American experience, but he's got some experience in M1 Global, the company that almost made that co-promotion agreement with the UFC so they could get Fedor Emelianenko on board years ago. Evloev has been all around that league, and boy, there were some killers that he beat there. So I don't know. This is one of those guys where he comes, from a feeder league, as they say, and just can dominate anywhere he goes. There's some people that come from those leagues and they kind of become that small fish in a big pond, and they don't do so well. But Evloev is very impressive. By the way, Rosenstruck is coming off a 3-round unanimous decision loss to Curtis Williams. He has lost 2 out of his last 3 because he lost to Cyril Gagné in February 2021. He did knock out Augusto Sakai in the last second of the first round of their fight. June 2020. It's a tough opponent. So the 3 losses have all been in his last 5 fights. 2 out of the 3, the biggest names he could have in the heavyweight division, who just fought for the title. Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gagné, the 2 guys he lost to. So I don't know. Yeah, he's a very durable guy. He does have a lot of knockout wins too. Against probably the biggest name, Andrei Arlovsky, knocked him out in 29 seconds. Alistair Overeem after that. That was the one he knocked the guy out. 4 seconds left to go. So he could be a slow starter, or he could be a blow you down type of guy. That's what I'm talking about. Unpredictable. Let's see which guy shows up. Evloev, I was saying, he is just a fascinating, dominant fighter. Of those 15 wins, 8 of them are decisions, but 4 submissions and 3 knockouts. And he's beat some tough guys in the UFC. He's been in the UFC since 2019. Enrique Barzola, Mike Grundy, Nick Lentz, and Hakeem Dawodo the last time out. And it looks like he's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decisions in a row. Last guy he knocked out was an M1 in the 5th. So I'm going to go by decision. He wins this one against Hines. Oh man, he can hit. So Evloev is going to have to use every bit of his good chin here to avoid getting knocked out. So he's going to take a good unanimous decision there. Always due for a knockout. So maybe he gets his first UFC knockout. Because Ives is so aggressive. Although Ives never been knocked out. So onto that pretty well. 100% decisions. For 5 losses he has. The over 15 wins. He has lost 2 in a row as well. So let's see how that goes. Right there. I'm not sure I'm going to be putting him in many lineups though, because that's probably a decision thing to happen. You gotta have knockouts only. Submissions. Slow tonight. Let's go, Sure Dog. It'd help if I had a computer that was from this century. I got an upgrade, I guess. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what this computer is from. I think it's like 2004. I think this computer has some of the stuff I originally wrote for the Zion's case on it. Well, the one next to it does. I'm not sure if this one. Oh. Anyway, Frank Gore is in the news today. I should mention he just got the big boxing win, and he is now officially retiring from the NFL after signing a one-day contract with the San Francisco 49ers. So he can retire with them. Did I also hear that Fitzpatrick is retiring? The quarterback there?
Yeah, I heard that today too.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
They said something about Fitz Magic, and I was like, is he going for another team?
My one friend that posted about his retirement today, it said he's the only quarterback to have played the Eagles 7 times with 7 different teams and has thrown a touchdown with each team.
That's not good for the Eagles.
No, it's not.
Alright, here we go. So, Michael Trezano at featherweight here in the 12th fight of the night. He is 9-2, fighting Lucas Almeida, who is 13-1. I got a female fight. Karine Silva, have not heard of her. She is 14-4, fighting Pollyanna Botello, who is 8-4. And Odie Osborne burned me the first time I bet on him. Burned me bad. Got knocked out quick. He is 10-4, fighting Zaruk Adashev, who is 4-3. So hopefully that's a better matchup for him if he wins this one. But he looked actually pretty decent up until he did get knocked out that time. Maybe we'll give him a second chance. So that's why we fight Alonzo Menafield, 11-3, fighting Askar Mazarov, 19-12. This guy Mazarov. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's a light heavyweight fight, so good chance for a knockout there. I'm gonna have to look at that one. Felice Herrig back in action. Boy, I haven't seen her in a while. She is 14-9 at strawweight, fighting Carolina Kowalkiewicz, who is 12-7. That's quite the journeyman female fight there at strawweight. Let's see how that goes. Joe Solecki, 11-3 at lightweight, fighting Alex Da Silva Coelho, 21-3. I haven't heard of him in the UFC before, so that must be a lot of feeder stuff. We'll see. That translates. Damon Jackson in the sixth fight tonight. He is 20 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw for a record. At featherweight, fighting the undefeated Dan Argueta, who is 8-0. Then we got Nicholas Stoltz, who is 12-5, fighting Benoit Saint Denis, who is 8-1 at lightweight. We got Johnny Munoz Jr., 11-1, fighting Tony Gravely, who is 22-7 at bantamweight. That one could end in a knockout. Those are 2 tough guys right there. Jeff Molina, 10-2, fighting Zaldas Zumagulov, who is 14-6. Molina 10-2 at flyweight. Welterweights, Renat, definitely gonna butcher this one. Fakhretinov, 18-1 at welterweight, fighting Andreas Michailidis, who is 13-5. That's a pretty decent fight. For the second fight of the night. Definitely gonna have to watch this entire card. Then we got a female fight leading off. Erin Blanchfield, 8-1 at flyweight, fighting JJ Aldrich, who's 11-4. Not one I'm gonna depend on knockout there. And then we got Bellator 282 going on. That's June 24th. Let's leave it. Boy, they were taking a real break. Look. We've also got some plans in the works for ABC action in the UFC. They're going to have UFC on ABC 3. And they got a few fights lined up. The main card is going to be led by Ortega versus Rodriguez. They just signed Emily Ducote, Rose Jordan. Let's see. Good stuff. Alright, so we won't go through Bellator. 282. I don't think we have any other stuff though. We did not have any UFC fights last week. I'm trying to think if we had any big news. Conor McGregor was talking about coming back, trying to get away from doing too much boxing and getting more into the MMA. But I don't know. I think the jury's still out on what he's going to do when he does get back. PFL. We got PFL? No PFL. Nothing till June 17th. So I guess we got to go to one championship. We don't talk about that much, but we have, is it tomorrow night? One championship fight. Main event, Quan Wan Il fighting Fabricio Andrade, who is 7-2. Quan is 10-3. That's a featherweight fight. And we got bantamweights, Reese McLaren, 14-8, fighting Li Ji, who is 16-3. Marcus Almeida at heavyweight, 2-0, fighting Simon Carson, 2-1, 8th fight of the night. And here's some records. Kairat Akhmetov, 25-2 at bantamweight, fighting Tatsumitsu Wada, who is 23-11-2. Alex Silva at flyweight, 11-7, fighting Adrian Matisse, who is 10-5. We got Yodkaika Fairtex. Definitely did not pronounce that right. It's a bantamweight fighter. He is 7-4-1, fighting Gurdarshan Mangat, who is 16-3. And we got Odie Delaney, 3-0, fighting Mehdi Margi, who is 4-3 at heavyweight. Back-to-back heavyweight fights here. Duke Didier at heavyweight, fighting Jasur Mirza Mukhamedov, who is 5-0. We got a female fight, Jennifer Olsen, 5-3, fighting Julie Mezabarba, who's 9-3-1. And then a welterweight fight to lead off the action, Kayung Rock Kim against Edson Marquez. Rock Kim is 3-2. Marquez is 9-2. Alright. Guess that's it for the MMA stuff. I have not been keeping track of too many big news stories, but let me just check my latest boxing, MMA, and wrestling stuff, see if we got any headlines worth mentioning. Missed. I don't think I've even updated the Fight News Unlimited website in like 3 weeks at this point, unfortunately. I have to get at least like the last 5 days worth of stuff on there. 100 emails in my inbox that I have not published yet. Stories and stuff. Ryan Garcia calling out Tank. I will go to war, he said, with Tank. Sounds like a Russian. I will go to war with Tank.
You know what? I like Garcia a lot, and he's got charisma. You know, he's got lightning fast hands. But but what intrigues me about him is then his mental state. The fact that he could wait for a little while like that, and the fact that in that one fight where he got knocked down, he got countered, and it showed some flaws in his armor.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can stand up to Tank's power.
Here's an interesting one. MMA. Alistair Overeem supposedly does not see a Fedor fight as a good thing to do, but admits that the interest could develop. Let's see. Oh, this is one of those things I was probably supposed to mention like a couple weeks ago when the news first came out, but who's that guy that yells "woo" all the time there, Tony? What's that guy's name?
Always yells what?
Woo!
Woo! Player.
He's coming back out of retirement again.
Oh, I heard.
And
I heard.
we have not brought it up, unfortunately. I keep forgetting about it. So let's get it in this show finally. And let's see if you got the updates, and you can be the ring man of wrestling for a second. And have you heard anything about who he's going to fight? Wrestle.
Well,
around.
I heard a rumor possibly Hulk Hogan.
Again?
That was discussed, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, because that was an embarrassment the last time. They looked like they were in diapers. If I remember correctly.
And now it's funny because now they had originally talked about it was going to be a six-man tag match, and I forget who Flair's going to be teaming with, and I forget who the other team was going to be. But they had talked about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat because him and Flair had a
oh yeah, but then he's had some health issues.
Best wrestling back in 1989. But then they said, for whatever reason, it's not Steamboat. I don't know if they had a contract issue or what the problem was, but
He's having some health issues, I think.
Then I heard Hulk Hogan in there, but I don't think that's going to happen either. I mean, like Hulk's had really bad health issues with his hips and his back and his knees, and I don't think he wants to do it at this point. He always says he does, but I don't see that happening. So I don't know.
Yeah. We shall find out. He carries it through, but I think this came from a viral video that went around of him practicing with a guy. And still looking pretty decent. I mean, obviously it was not only fake, but just practice. But and the guy was being easy on him. But they did the whole routine of throwing each other around the ring and bouncing off the ropes. It did look pretty damn good. for his age, you know. But talking about health
Yeah.
issues, guy's had a lot of health issues you got to worry about at that age. So we'll see. I don't know how action-packed his return is going to be, but he's going to do it. All right. I guess that's it for me. I don't have anything else lined up for content. But like I said, we're going to work on guests. We got to get Reggie Johnson back on the show too at some point. I've seen him on like my Jack Johnson watched the other day. Anyway, lots of candidates. My buddy John Scully, prime candidate right there. He's not busy with Turbiev. He's stirring up stuff, and actually I meant to mention him last week when we were talking about the shooting, because remember you liked that comment that I put on there about the media, and then like 2 days later the shooting happened, and I didn't even have a psychic moment or anything. I was just like, that's one of the problems with these shootings is that they get the attention immediately. And the old thing, like, didn't mommy and daddy show you enough attention when you were a child, like the insult in Full Metal Jacket? That's true with a lot of these kids. They don't get the attention, and instead of having a fucking temper tantrum these days, they're going to go out and shoot somebody just because they can.
Right.
And one guy on Facebook, he had been had some posts banned and stuff like that, but he managed to get one through today about how, a lot of this is the pharmaceuticals. Like, he had to get off them himself because of, they just make you want to go and get a gun and shoot somebody. I mean, that's how bad it is with some of the side effects. And then another guy commented that, yeah, he was on them too, and he pulled the gun on a lady in the checkout line at the supermarket. Like, didn't fire, but, like, almost got himself in a lot of trouble, and he got off pharmaceuticals after that. So I was like, oh shit, these people bring up some good points. And then, you got this whole political angle to it, and it's unfortunate because they use that as an excuse now. They go, oh, well, if you're saying it's about mental health, you just don't want gun control. You love guns. Well, that's not it at all. It's
Right.
It's a mental health thing, and it's undeniable. You just do not go and shoot people if you're mentally healthy.
Here's one of the things that I think a lot of it is. One is you take a discipline away. So everybody's a winner now. You play sport, you get a trophy. You don't have to compete. So it's like you're used to always getting your way. Hey, I boxed, Rich, you boxed. We were in the Nationals that year. Yeah, we both may have gotten medals, but we didn't get that trophy because we didn't win the national championship. We got, whatever place we qualified.
Got my little bronze
because
medal.
we didn't qualify.
So I got bigger medals in wrestling for not even national tournaments. But hey, it was still pretty.
You know what?
decent.
It was like when I know when they used to have a lot of like the shows. They used to not the all-comer shows. They would like they have like we used to call them invitational. So Lock Haven's having an invitational. So for argument's sake, 1998, I boxed Michael Jordan at the Lock Haven Invitational, and there were 2 medals. There wasn't 2 gold medals. There wasn't 2 your winner medals. There was a gold. There was a silver. A first place and a second place. And that time, I was fortunate enough to get my hand raised. I got the gold medal. Michael Jordan got the silver medal. There were other fight cards where I know one specifically, and this bothers me a lot, was we were fighting in Mansfield. Mansfield had a very small budget. They only had small medals for the winner only. And I lost a decision that night, and I didn't get a medal. And we had a kid on our team. That was like one of
I know
he
this
was
stuff.
really goofy. All he did was he got on the scale, weighed 112 pounds, didn't have an opponent, and got a medal for it. And he was showing it to everybody.
Look what I got
like he just won
for
the
weighing
Olympics.
in.
And he was like, "Where's yours?" I got one. Where's yours? And after he saw me, lose the fight that I was, pissed off about, not because I legitimately lost the fight, I lost the decision, but because I didn't fight up to my capability. And it's like, fuck, you didn't get one. I did. I'm like, no, you didn't. You beat a scale. But that's one thing. The kids now today, everybody gets a gold medal. Everybody gets a trophy. You show up, you sit the bench, you're a winner. As George Carlin said, there's 10 people in a race, and you came in 10th place, you were the last winner. You were still a winner. No, you're not. Right. That's one thing. The other thing is, everybody's so busy anymore, and you get social media. So social media is like, man, if I can do something, I can, like, people, what do they want to do? They want to get likes on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything. I want to get likes. I'm all about likes. People like my stuff, they comment on my stuff. So if I can do something big and beyond, now it's like almost like you're trying to run the high score of a video game.
Yeah.
This is what these kids' mentality is anymore. Video games. Real life, to them, is a video game. You got these Call of Duty games, and you got these Grand Theft Auto games.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, the job is to kill as many people as possible.
They were bad when we were kids. They're a lot worse now. A lot more realistic, too. Because you got these headsets now, too, with virtual reality. So, I mean, I just can't imagine. I haven't played a video game in, 6 years on a system. So, I can't really relate. But back in the day, I remember when Call of Duty first came out. And Grand Theft Auto, one of my dad's friend's sons was playing it years ago. And he was laughing, being a cop, especially. He was laughing. But I'm like, at the same time, he was kind of like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe this stuff is in games now. Because, this little kid was driving a tank around town that he got the cheat codes for.
Yeah, things like that. What do you get more points for? Robbing an old lady, shooting people up, stealing a car. So basically, these kids are getting into the mentality, hey, these things are okay, these are good because I get, quote unquote, more points for doing that. Yeah. And then it gets to the fact, it was like, that'd be something cool to do in real life. Hey, there's a game, and it was like shoot up a school type of game. Hey, that would be cool to do in real life. I'll be this. Here's how you know. The first one that I remember was back in 1999. It was Columbine.
Yeah. Those kids are on
I still remember their
medications too, with bad side effects at the time.
Those two, kids that were going. Basically, they were going nowhere in life. They were, basically, they were troubled, and they were going nowhere. And that was their way of, one, getting revenge, and two, getting their names remembered. Because I still remember their names. Yeah. I got my one friend's nephew. I was talking to his mom last week, and he's a kid, when he's medicated, he's like a zombie.
Yeah.
You go I remember his mom's like, oh my God, he always talks about you and how cool you are, and he tells his friends that he knows you and everything. So a couple years ago, I'm like, okay. I go up to him like, hey, how you doing? He's like, okay. I'm like, the person that I thought was a big fan of mine that thinks I'm so cool. He was barely acknowledging that I was even talking to him. And then a year later, he shows up, and I guess they didn't put him on his medication that day. And he's telling his mom to go get me an effing soda. Told me he was going to punch me in my effing mouth, whatever. And I'm like, this kid doesn't even make a fist. He weighs about 80 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Been thrown out at the pool. All he does is play video games. And then it's like, so when I was talking to his mom the other day, and she's like, she doesn't know what to do with him anymore. I sent her that one video I watched of Mark Romero. And one thing Mark Romero says is, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. He goes, if you hang out with losers, you will be a loser. And he goes, I know, because I hung out with losers, and I became the biggest loser of them all. Drinking, drugs, partying, I almost threw my life away.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, and it's bad, because a lot of kids want to understand,
I hate to make it political myself, but
broken family.
I think a lot of this has to do with the economy. People are freaking out. Gas is up, inflation is going through the roof, and you talk about parents who can't spend time with their kids. I mean, it's just going to get worse if they have to work more to get by. They're just spending less and less time with their kids, and that's what they're doing all this for half the time, is the attention that they're not getting from their family. And you talk about, feeling entitled to all this stuff as a kid nowadays and the trophies and all that. Not only that, but the phones. This kid was he was waiting for his grandmother to get off the phone to challenge his bill, his cell phone bill. And then as soon as she got off the phone, he shot her. So, I mean, he racked up some huge cell phone bill, screwing around online. And then, she probably told him she was going to take his phone away, and he shot her right in the face. I mean, thank God she didn't.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing which shows the lack of respect anymore. Okay, imagine this. We all grew up in an era where there was, hey, and trust me, there were troubled kids back then too. Social media didn't explode things because it wasn't like around back then. But take this for an example, okay? Rich, just for argument's sake, say you and I met in the 1998 Nationals for the national championship, right? And we fought 3 hard rounds. And after it was over, it was a close fight. And I feel that I won, and you feel that you won. And the judges tally the cards, and you get the victory. Am I upset? Of course I am. I'm still going to shake your hand, and I'm still going to congratulate you, and I'm still going to hug you, and I'm going to walk out of there, and I'm going to get myself a medal, and I'm like, shit, I thought I won, but it sucks. Or another scenario, you and I are 2 kids in high school, or even grade school, high school, and we get in a, argument on the playground, and we throw hands. We get in a fight. Maybe you win, maybe I win. Maybe it's a draw. It doesn't matter. What happens when it's over? Generally, for the most part, it's over. Because we were taught, one, you ran your mouth, you probably got punched in it, because there were consequences. But 2, when it was over, it was over, If you beat me up and you got the better of me, I didn't run home and grab a baseball bat or a gun or run back into school and shoot it up because if I got beat up in a fight. No, I licked my wounds and, I said, you know what? Okay, you kicked my ass today. If we still had a beef another day, I might try to hit the bag a little bit and, fight you again. But at the same time, it was always fair up, one-on-one. Because, that's one thing kids don't have anymore. I tell people all the time when I train them, especially young kids, if they listen, hey, I got in a lot of fights when I was younger. I was stupid. You talk about it all the time. You got in fights in grade school because of somebody saying your mother, and that was a trigger, But, I did stupid shit, and I was lucky that, it didn't backfire on me. If I would have done this shit then, today, I'd be dead by now. Because, I would have beat some kid up, he would have came into school the next day and put a bullet in me. Or he would have, hit me with a baseball bat.
I got in a fight in high school with a kid with a big mouth, and it was probably the most talked about fight I was ever in. He hit me with one shot. It was like one of the little Mike Tyson punch-out, Glass Joe jumping punches, and he caught me in the chin, no, in the eye, because I had a black eye. But that was it. I just came right in on him, hit him with a couple right hands to the head, dragged him to the ground, and then we were like right next to the double doors of the main floor, right outside the detention room, appropriately. Detention. At the end of the day, I was in detention. He came there to talk shit to me. So we ended up fighting right outside the door of detention. And so I beat him pretty badly. I actually broke his arm with punches. So it was crazy. And some science teacher put me in. Yeah, some science teacher put me in a sleeper hold. It was like one of the fattest teachers we had in the school. he watched some wrestling, I think, so he put me in the full Nelson. That's what it was. And he dragged me to the principal's office. But the reason I mentioned that one is that kid ended up running his mouth to somebody later in life, and he got his head shot off with a shotgun. So, yeah, you say stuff to the wrong people. It's not just a fight. It's worse, and that's what happened to him. I don't know what the circumstances were, but I'm just guessing he probably ran his mouth, because that's what he did to me. He was just walking by the detention room, and I think that's when it started. It was a mother situation. He said your mother at some point, and that's what set me off. But it started off with something else, like I had bumped into him earlier in the day, and then he was just like acting like I couldn't beat him up if I wasn't a fight with him, and he was talking all kinds of smack. So then I'm in detention, and he walks by and he says, "Oh, I don't see you saying shit now," thinking I'm going to be too scared to go out there and mess with him because I'm already in enough trouble. But nope, not me. That was freshman year before I got straightened out by ROTC, so I said, "Let's dance." I handed one of my good friends my jacket, and I just went out there. That's one of my favorite fight
stories. I look at
stories.
it, and I know it'll never work in today's society, but I look at it and I just think, sometimes maybe they need something like, you went to, a military academy, where
I
a
needed
lot of
that.
times people had to pick up, black clothes. But they should, start incorporating, military regimen classes in schools. I'm not talking about, all schools anymore. It's to the point where it's these kids just need. I mean, one of the things, and it's funny to think about it now, because I hated it back then, was going to Catholic school. You had to wear, shirt and tie and slacks every day and a uniform, and I hated it because, a lot of my friends went to public school, and
We had some cool
didn't have
uniforms,
to.
actually.
Now it's
Until they changed.
when I'll be driving to work. First of all, I a few years ago, I had stopped somewhere and I saw kids coming out of the one Catholic high school that I went to, 20-some years prior. These kids are in little polo shirts and khaki shorts, and I'm like, bullshit. We didn't get to wear. We had to wear shirt and tie every day, and if it was 100 degrees out, they're bitching now about. Schools don't have air conditioning. Well, we didn't. And we were in Catholic school. They said, you know what? You can loosen your tie and you can unbutton your top button and loosen your tie. Don't take it off, but you can loosen it. I'm saying, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
But it gave you a discipline almost. It gave you I'll be driving to work now. I'm seeing I used to get stuck behind this one bus every day, and the father would drive his son down.
How many school shooters do you ever hear of came from Catholic school, Tony? You ever think about that?
True. Yeah. Yeah. You got a good point.
None. I know.
So I'd see his father drive his son down the driveway. The driveway was only 50 feet, and they would sit in the car until the bus got there. Then the kid would get out of the car. The father would get out with him at the same time, and they would do their coordinated handshake high five. But you know what? How about you both goddamn car before the bus gets there? So little, Finster over here isn't on his phone up until the last possible second. Get out of the car when the bus is pulling up the hill. Do your stupid little handshake, high five, whatever, and then get the kid on the fucking bus. Because I'm trying to get to work here, and I have no patience to deliver. Or honestly, another time, another kid with a coordinated handshake with his dad. This kid's wearing basketball shorts and a tank top, and I'm like, this kid's going to school. Jesus Christ! I mean, what the hell? I'm not gonna be able to wear that shit to school.
Yeah.
But
Kids are trying to grow up too fast, too. And there's the other shooting there, I think it was this morning or yesterday, where the guy shot up the medical center, the hospital, over an operation. The doctor, he shot the doctor who performed the operation on his back. Did you see that?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I was gonna comment, operation what? What?
There's four people shot. One of them was a patient, one of them was a receptionist, and then I think it was two doctors. But only one of the doctors was behind the surgery. And I guess the guy had been complaining about pain, needing something for the pain. So he bought an AR-15 that day and a pistol and went in there and wreaked havoc. So, of course, they're blaming the AR-15. And, if you take away the AR-15, they're just going to bring pistols. And they keep making good points when they come up with this, this anti-gun narrative. They keep making these points that, well, if you look at the majority of the shootings period, they're with handguns. So, you can ban assault weapons all you want. It's not going to help a thing. But it happens to be the AR-15 for some reason in almost all of these big shootings. So I don't know what that says, but maybe there has to be some better training before people can get those guns. And as far as increasing background checks, what is that going to do? If you're not scouring social media for posts where this person is threatening people or talking about shooting places up, like you literally have to have an NSA level background check to catch these people if you're going to depend on that. So that's not the answer either. It's a mental health thing. The red flag laws are the only thing I see in any of this garbage where they keep bringing up gun control that makes any sense. And even those, how do you put them in place? How do you make sure it gets against somebody that deserves it and not somebody who's going to be pissed off and get shot anyway because they're trying to get you to give up your guns and you don't have a reason to, which has happened already in some states that have them already. So if you just expand those, you're going to have cases where people get killed for no reason because they didn't have a basis to give up their guns and they thought they had every right to keep them, so they fought for them and they got killed, or they killed the cop that was trying to come get them. It happens. So it's like one of those solutions that creates more problems than it solves sometimes. But there's no easy answer either. I think you're right, though. It has a lot to do with the culture and the way that kids are brought up today. They talk about these financial things called entitlements, like they're something that people shouldn't be getting, but they are, but that's what you're paying into the system for. So I think they use that word wrong, but they should be using the word entitlements for these situations with a lot of these kids, what they're getting, and they're going through life thinking that everything is going to be handed to them, and the government doesn't help with this whole thing with COVID.
Everything's free anymore. College free.
Just handing everything out. So many people applied for these PPP loans that probably didn't even need them, and they just got them because they were handing them out like candy. So you had so many people that were used to not working or working from home, and now they just want to make that permanent, however they possibly can, and they're going to find every way to make the government pay for it. That's why we're paying for inflation. Among many other reasons. But man, we need a new show for this. We need to have the political hour. Anyway, but that's the long and short of it. It's not really related to combat sports that much, but there's probably another reason why you never see shooting events at fights. Although we almost had one at the Barclays Center. There was some trampling at the tank fight.
I heard.
Kind of tie in there to that. They had
Tupac got killed after the Mike Tyson fight.
TikTok?
No, Tupac.
Tupac. Oh yeah. That was just a one incident thing that had nothing to do with the fights themselves.
Oh, I know that it was blocked by.
The only other one I could think of is that guy that they got the $5 million reward out for. He actually killed somebody at a boxing match in Ireland, supposedly. Kinahan there. But other than that, yeah, you don't hear a lot about that. And there was one I remember we talked about on the show like a few weeks ago. There was a shooting. I don't think anybody got killed, but there was a shooting that broke out at an illegal boxing match somewhere behind a Walmart or something, if I remember correctly. That's what I got to start doing. There's a pretty big Walmart in Guilford. I bet you we could get some fights going over there. Just got to pay off a couple cops. Be all set. No. Definitely do not want to get arrested doing that. Anyway. Alright, well, I guess we've run out of real topics to talk about tonight. MMA topics, boxing topics, but we will definitely have lots to talk about next week. We got some good fights, good action, and hoping to win some money. I need it. Spent about $500 just today on legal bullshit, with the hope of getting $50,000 possibly in a few months, if I'm lucky, maybe a year. We'll see. I also got jury duty. I didn't even tell you guys. Can you believe that? I got jury duty in July. They really want me in the
Your
courts.
civic obligation, huh?
Yeah. One way or another. They're just trying to get me in the system. Trying to get me to just decide to be a lawyer once and for all. I think that's probably going to be my calling. I don't know. I'd rather be a writer, but like, there's just so many signs lately that says maybe I should rethink it. Maybe I should do more lawyering than writing, and then do writing on the side. I've always done writing on the side anyway, but
Like my cousin Vinny.
Yeah, I could do that. I mean, I'm thinking Lincoln Lawyer. I really like that show. I don't know if you guys seen that yet, but great watch. If you see that on Netflix, check it out. It's not like the movie, The Lincoln Lawyer. It's a lot better. Matthew McConaughey is a great actor, don't get me wrong, but this guy that does the part, like, he reminds me of Junior Dos Santos. He just doesn't have as thick of an accent. He's more Americanized a little bit with his accent, but he has flashes of Junior Dos Santos when his accent kicks in. And but he's a lawyer, and he's like, he has this one line towards the end where he says to the driver that he has, you could go take the bar right now and pass it, and you wouldn't be able to do what I do because basically, the tricks that I use, they don't come from law school. So, yeah, I think I could bring some different spice to the legal profession that they need a little bit more of. There's too many lies. It's just such a culture of lying. Sad. It's really sad. Especially when, you got to put the kind of package together I had to do today. 9 copies. I mean, like, you saw the picture on Facebook, right, Tony? Pile of shit.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Your many trees that you killed?
Yeah, I even joked to the bailiffs when I was coming into the metal detector thing. I said, if they make me come back for more copies after this, I'm going to need a dolly. But, it's sad. It's sad that it takes that much paperwork, so the normal person is shut out of the process. Because, I literally had to pay like $200 on copies today. Because I didn't want to make my computer do all that work. My printer. My 5-year-old printer up here. But, hopefully it'll be worth it. They'll be crying in their cornflakes. That's the other thing, I hate to do it to family too. Like, that was a big part of, like, the difficulty of it. Wasn't so much just the work that I put into it and the stuff that I had to put off. It was the fact that I was having to do this against my own family, who should have, number one, more compassion.
Yeah, I saw you write that.
And number two, should have more understanding of who I am as a person. I went to military school with honor codes. I'm not going to use lies to get my way. I'm going to sniff out lies because I know how to investigate them. So it's kind of a double whammy. It's like, all right, why would family do this to me, and how could they not know who I am? Like, it's a known fact. You Google my name, you're going to find all the shit that, I've been investigating over the years. I've been in lawsuits, and nobody's ever really won a lawsuit against me to this day. They sort of won because the lady in Indiana, the guy that sued in Indiana, the lady died. And then the evil sister took over her case. But that was pretty much it. Zions, they never won. They didn't beat me. I beat them. So it wasn't a huge victory, not the one I wanted, but I won. So, it's just kind of sad that they can't figure that shit out. They're still my family, so you still, even as much as I hate this whole situation and what they did, like, I still have love for them. As crazy as it sounds, I still have love for them. I don't want them to suffer, and they will suffer because of this. But it makes it a little bit easier when you've got a situation where they deserve to suffer. Still doesn't make it feel any better that you're putting somebody through suffering. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you even the executioners back in the old medieval times felt bad for some people they had to kill. It happens, Anyway, that's my soapbox for the night. We will be back next week. I'm going to work on a guest. Let's shoot for Patrick and maybe John Scully the week after if we can get him. And I started out a bid the other day for former guest of ours, Boxing Trunks, Ray Mercer. He's another guest I would love to have. I've already asked him, though, and never
Saw
had a
that.
response. But yeah, Ray Mercer's Boxing Trunks got a little bit of money. Not as much as my Mike Tyson gloves, but probably the biggest auction that Scully's had since he came back from his ban. So that was good to see. And I started off with a nice little $50 bid that I knew was going to be outbid. I knew I wasn't going to get him either. But hey, you got to start somewhere, right? So we'll get him on eventually, if not
Right.
in the next few weeks. I have some fights to talk about. Thanks for being my therapy session tonight. Let me talk out my case, guys. Second time in a
Oh, it's always
row.
a pleasure.
I said to myself today, I was like, maybe it's not really much going on in the combat sports world. Maybe we'll call it off tonight. And I was like, I need some therapy. I just filed a big case today. So.
I was joking around. I'm like, when I talked about my one friend, I was like, a couple years ago, he very accurately predicted there's something wrong with me, and I definitely had brain damage, and I fully agree with him. But that's part of the running joke. And then, a few weeks later, the night he told me I had brain damage, which you should already know, was he calls me up. I was going to bring dinner over, for him and his wife, and the little boy was only 2, because it was his birthday weekend, and my family was away. I said, you know what? Let's have dinner tonight. I'll pick up some food, bring him some pizzas and all that, and we'll hang out. We'll watch TV. He goes, okay. He calls me and goes, what are you doing right now? I said, I'm going to go work out. Oh, what are you doing tonight? I said, I'm going to do 10 rounds of shadow box and 10 rounds on the bag. I'm talking like Cavalier. He goes, what, are you training for a fight? I'm like, dude, I always do 10 rounds on the bag. That's my standard go-to. Oh, okay. So I was wearing a new neoprene sauna suit that night, and I couldn't, anticipate how much it was going to restrict my breathing, and because it was so form-fitting and tight, and I'm sweating, I'm pouring sweat like I wanted to, and now I'm having a hard time breathing. Around the 5th round, I started fatiguing, and I got 5 to go. Around the 6th round, man, my arms feel like they're 800 pounds. Around the 7th round, I'm getting lightheaded, and I was like, maybe around the 8th round, I'm like, maybe I should just stop here. No. I'm facing my 2-year-old godson tonight, and I can't let him know that Uncle Tornado's a quitter. So I forced through the last 2 rounds, and I finished with a head of steam, and I felt good. So I go over there, and I'm telling him about it, and he goes, you stopped, right? I'm like, no, God, no. I said, I couldn't stop after I told you guys I was doing 10. I said, I couldn't face Dominic tonight if I didn't do the 10 like I said I would. He goes, Tony, he's 2. He has no idea what 10 rounds means. He's sleeping right now. I don't think he gives a shit. I'm like, but I do. I give a shit. So he goes, I think you got brain damage. I'm like, yeah, it took you this long to figure that out? So a few weeks later, we're talking about his cousin's bachelor party, which was going to be the following year. And his other cousin was going to be the best man. And I made a joke we should go to Vegas, which I had just got back from Vegas when I went out to the Canelo-Jacobs fight. And I joked to his cousin that we should get the Kingpin suite in the Palm Hotel, I think it is, $15,000 a night. I'm not getting that suite ever, unless I hit the lottery big. This suite has a bowling alley in it, all this stuff. You never have to leave. Next thing I know, my friend calls me up. He's panicking. His cousin told him he was going to plan the bachelor party in Vegas. It was going to cost about $3,000 to $4,000 a guy for a weekend. My friend's like, I can't afford that. I'm like, I can't afford that either. Where the hell did he get those numbers from? I don't know. I said, Mike, this moron's never been to Vegas. I just came back from Vegas, and I had the whole trip for 3 people booked for less than that total. I had it booked for almost half of that total. I said, don't listen to him. Listen to me. I trust your judgment. And I stopped and said, you do what? Because you trust me. Who in the right mind has ever trusted my judgment on anything? I don't even trust my own judgment half the time. 2 weeks ago, I had brain damage. Now, do you trust my judgment? I'm like, I could make a Seinfeld episode out of that.
Right. Ugh, sounds like we're getting smoked. Alright. Till next week, thanks for stopping by, and we're working on guests. See what we can do.
All right, guys. Enjoy the fights.
All right.